What's happening now across the Niagara frontier? News stories, old stories, stuff you know about and stuff you'd never believe. It's the Niagara Hub Soapbox with Craig Avery.
Wow, Vince, welcome. Vince Anello, former mayor of Niagara Falls and an ongoing political commentator, let's call it.
I sort of view it as trying to keep the record straight, you know.
There you go.
Trying to keep the record straight.
Records.
Because we have a lot of misconceptions of what public officials can and can't do and what public officials have or haven't done. And, my goal has been to at least let people understand what the specific job of a mayor is, of a councilman or a legislator. Because a lot of times we ask public officials for things that they can't produce. So for whatever reason, some people feel compelled that they have to give you an answer that you like. So they'll say, well, I'll take care of that, when in fact it's not in their purview, you know.
Or they're getting blamed for the things that they have nothing
to do with it. Right, exactly.
It's easy to just say him or they or whatever.
Yeah, and the biggest thing in Niagara Falls politics is the fact that the council can't vote on anything that the mayor hasn't made available to the agenda. So the mayor proposes, the council disposes. Now the council can vote no on everything and maybe get one or two right and brag about that forever. We got that one right. But at the same time, if you vote no on everything, you create a big hole in the budget like we have now. Because if the council approved all the spending, for instance, I'll give you a quick example. If the council has approved all the spending, which they did, why are we in trouble with the budget? It's because they didn't look at the revenue. Now, the revenue source that really affects the public the most and gets the most attention from the public is property taxes. So if we have a hole in the budget, that means that not only the administration didn't make it clear where we were going, but the city council went right along with it. So now you have councilmen saying, well, I voted no to tax increases. Mm-hmm. But you didn't vote no to the spending, because why do we have a hole in the budget? The mayor didn't do it by himself, you know. So the mayor proposes, the council disposes, but if you're not informed or if you just want to vote no, you'll get some of them right, you know. And some of these past and present councilmen, they brag about what they had right.
So the council they can't bring anything up themselves?
No, not unless it's an ordinance change or a new ordinance, you know. But as far as, and they can't really get involved with the day-to-day operation of the city other than during the budget. During the budget, you set the level of service by how much money you're going to put into it. So to figure out how much money you're going to put into it is, okay, what did it cost? What did, let's say, forestry, for instance. Let's pick forestry, or the police department for that matter. They all operate the same. You pay for what you have, you know. So what did it cost us for forestry last year? X number of dollars. Okay, I would dig a little further with forestry especially and say, okay, how much comp time did they take? I'm talking about where some people got hurt, you know, and they were off of work. Because that affects your productivity. But see, nobody ever asked those questions. So you could have a forestry department with a third of their people out of work because they got hurt. And then you do the budget, you never ask that question, and never ask, well, how many trees did you cut down this year compared to last year, or the year before, or the year before that? So when you don't dig down that deep, you just vote yay or nay based on a gut feeling.
Okay.
You know, and that to me, that's not the way you run a business.
But still, what we're talking about is there are different authorities,
right?
The things that they can or can't do, or have something or not to affect.
Right.
So if somebody came into the council meeting and says, let's just take a wild thing and say, I'm having a problem with this garbage program. Mm-hmm. Well, just because the council just voted it for the funding, they're not into the operations of it.
Right.
So that question to council is not even appropriate, or?
Well, no, they can ask the council because that's where you complain. You know, that's where you complain. But now, as a councilman, where do they take that? Do they say, well, the mayor is full of it and that's why we have a garbage problem? No, what you do is you bring the department head in with the administrator or the department head by themselves with some staff and say, okay, these are the complaints we've been getting in the last 3 months. What do you believe is the problem? Because it's not getting done.
Okay, so again then, that is the role of the council to field the feedback.
Right, it's like, okay, we're paying for this service, garbage is a good one. We're paying for the service, garbage collection. What we're getting in return is a lot of complaints. But the contract sounded good when we voted on it, so where are we failing? Okay, the first place that the city felt that they were failing was we have to educate the public. So they have now a group, and it consists of 4 people in that department. So we created a whole new department that it's going to manage the recycling and the garbage pickup, the clean neighborhood issues and all of that. But we're still getting complaints, okay? The council, when they first approved the contract, never ever asked how big is how much is the implementation of the contract going to cost us? Because before this contract, we only had one person taking care of all the other issues that come up with clean neighborhoods and garbage collection, recycling, and everything else. And the council, every single budget, even the whole time that I was in office, refused to help that person with any additional support to do her job right.
Okay.
You know, so again, you have to understand what do we buy with this contract?
Right.
What do we need to implement it? Now that should be added to the cost of the contract. It isn't just the tonnage that we estimated we're paying for. It's, okay, what is this department costing us? Now that's the total cost of sanitation for the city of Niagara Falls. So council members, even if they don't know this year, next year they should be ready. Like with this budget coming up October 1st, they should be well versed in understanding how much is getting rid of our garbage is really costing per ton. It's not just a tipping fee, it's all the other, all the other costs involved.
What else to ask? What other questions?
So how would a poor councilman, they just say just regular math, he's not a CPA, he's not an MBA, regular math. How would you figure out how much it's costing you? They send you invoices with tonnage. You add up all the invoices, total number of tons, divide it into the total cost of that operation at the end of the year. Now you know how much it's costing you per ton.
Okay.
Simple as that. You don't have to, all this, fancy dancing that's being done that we have to do this, we have to know. How much is it costing me as a taxpayer?
Okay.
Simple as that. So I don't want to oversimplify.
So the role of council then is to kind of field the complaints, address the questions before they're even asked, actually, if they could
anticipate
think forward or whatever.
Anticipate. Because the main role of the council is the delivery of services. Okay? So, but the delivery of services, and you want the taxpayers to get the best bang for their dollar. You don't go and become less efficient and cover up that efficiency, the diminishing efficiency with casino money. And that's what this council has been complicit with, is to keep sneaking, by calling it other things, keep sneaking more and more casino money to the day-to-day operation of the city. And they're saying, look, we haven't raised your taxes. Oh, really? But I can show you money. I can show you casino money going to police department. I can show you casino money going to fire department. I can show you casino money going into forestry, going into parks, going into streets. What did the previous mayors do?
So they've increased their spending, but they're not showing it in tax.
So then you see streets that were done 5 years ago, you have to spend time maintaining them because they're falling apart. But what happened here? Well, maybe you should look at your operation. See if there's something you could do to improve the operation. Is it a matter of equipment? It can't be equipment because they've had more equipment in the last 5-6 years than any mayor's ever had before. Since Lyndon Johnson had his Great Society a platform and initiative where money was no object. You need more people working for the city. Here's a program for you. You need more equipment. Here's a program for you. which it helped a lot of cities. I mean, one of the reasons why we have street lights in our alleys is because of one of those programs, believe it or not. But there's also good things and bad things. One of the reasons people have trouble with their sewers is because at that time also they did us the big favor of giving cities free trees, reforestation of the cities. What they didn't realize is the type of trees that they were giving a lot of the cities, including ours, were going to eat up your sewer system. So in a lot of cases, when you have sewer problems, you can trace it back all the way to LBJ, in the Great Society programs. So, there's good and bad in everything, but again, you can't get them all right. But when you know that something is going wrong, before you start pointing fingers, find a solution, because that's the role of the administration, and the council should encourage that.
All right, so anyway, the mayoral responsibilities and the staff, which is something, again,
the mayor,
I think a lot of the
through
people,
which, believe it or not, the actual day-to-day operation of the city falls on the lap or the shoulders, depending on how you want to look at it, of the city administrator. That's the day-to-day operation. So the mayor selects the administrator. It's a direct appointment with no council approval. And then the administrator is supposed to run the city, supposed to appoint all the other department heads. But in reality, everybody knows that the police chief is the one that the mayor approved. The fire chief is the one that the mayor approved. Department of Public Works, that's the one that the mayor approved. What's the administrator going to say? No.
Right.
So it's a it's a collective decision.
It's a team. It's a team decision.
So that's the way it technically runs. So the mayor, through the administrator and department heads, run the day-to-day operation of the city.
But the department heads work for the administrator.
Right. Technically, right.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, I had occasions where I had to call a department head to find out some information. But I would never discipline an employee or chew out a department head without either the administrator being there or the administrator knowing about it, and I needed to handle it myself. Because there's sometimes some people find it difficult to tell it like it is, So sometimes you have to take a step forward, and you're the one that the people see as the one to making things happen. So sometimes the mayor has to be in there and do the hard work. Roll up your sleeves, get your hands dirty a little bit.
Or, on the other hand, commend an employee for a good thing.
No doubt about it.
You want to get the administrator in there too while you're patting someone on the back for a good job. And that happens occasionally.
And one of my big disappointments, because I thought we did a lot of things, we changed a lot of things and started going in the right direction. One of my major disappointments, a couple of them actually, on the administration part of it, the management part of it, is we used to have department head meetings every single week. It was rare that we didn't have one. Now it's rare that they have one. Okay, and the fact was that every department head had to be there. They didn't want to be there. Well, if you're going to talk about the police department, I'm in the fire department. What do I want to, listen to that for? Or I'm in the Department of Public Works. What do I want? No, everybody's going to be there, because you never know when somebody's an issue is going to come up, and somebody out of nowhere is going to say, why aren't we doing it this way? Why aren't we doing it that way? So that, to me, was important. That was number one. Number two, when we negotiated our union contracts, I would have to say I was probably the most transparent of anyone when it came to, these are the numbers. This is what we have to work with. And I personally told some of the union presidents, we can't come back with any more than this. Do all your negotiations in that, but it can't cost us more than this. And they were surprised by that. But the fact was, we can increase the cost. I can accept the cost increase by X number of %. But you decide how you want it. Do you want it in your paycheck? Do you want it in something else? You want it in benefits? Whatever you want, but it's not going to go over this percentage. And they all understood why, because the money's coming from the same place, and if there isn't money there, certainly you have the ability to pay by raising taxes, but I've never met a union president or a department head who ever said, this is what my people deserve. You have to, I'm going to go to the public and ask them to raise their taxes. I've never seen one. But they expect the mayor to do it. They expect the council to do it. So what I did was, and I had very good relationship with all the unions. I only had problem with one union president, and I won't say here what I think of him. But the fact is that they all knew that the numbers I gave them were the real numbers. And the reason I was comfortable with that was because before I became mayor, and while I was a councilman, I worked with the unions behind the scenes to learn about the business and also work on the budget. And I have to say it, I have no reason to hold it back, but nobody, other than the city controller, understood the budget better than the fire department. They would spend hours and hours really digging into the numbers and seeing where the money comes from and where it's going and what the trend is. So I would compare that with what other cities are doing and say, fellas, this is where we're at. I'd bite the bullet and tell the people that we need a % tax increase or we need a 2% tax increase to make up the difference. I'll take the hit for that, but this is as far as we can go.
So again, now you're saying the mayoral responsibility is direct negotiations with unions? That isn't a city administrator?
No, that's a city administrator. I only did that as long as I wasn't negotiating. You know, I wasn't negotiating specific items of the contract, but things would get back to me. And a number of times the unions wanted to meet with the mayor to see exactly where we're going, but not necessarily negotiate the contract. So I was never uncomfortable to talk to the workers. I mean, dear God, they're working for the city. They're getting paid by the city. You're telling me that we can't discuss this, face to face? So the attorney, the HR, and the administrator were actually members of the negotiating team for the city. And then the unions had their own negotiating team. And that's who negotiated. I never got into the day-to-day thing. I would set the parameters, certainly, and I wanted them to know what my parameters were. Why negotiate for 3-4 months, yell at each other and swear at each other when we're not even in the same ballpark?
Right.
You know, so for me it was, this is what we have. Split it up any way you want, and if I have to, I'll go to the taxpayers, tell them that we need a tax increase, and here's the reason why. I would love to have anybody, because you'll be posting this, right?
Okay.
I would love to have anybody that watches this clip to tell me when was the last time that any kind of contract that the council approved in the last 8 years, 10 years, 15 years for that matter, where they heard a councilman say, how much is this going to cost us every year? What is the cost? Are there any other additional costs? For instance, I mean, the train station, I've never heard a councilman ask, what's the maintenance cost for this? You know, what is it going to cost us from year to year? What's the projected revenue from this train station? Do we have any signed contracts or a memorandum of understanding for tenants in the place? I mean, come on. We're the council members, but yet some of them find it very easy to beat up on the administration. Well, what about a little guidance?
Well, little planning,
Right.
Ahead of
Exactly.
the day they had the ribbon cutting for the culinary was right after that was when they had kind of a session saying, now what should we do with the rest of the building?
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
that whole time they were building on it, nobody thought that we should move forward.
Right.
Going forward, next couple months, we've got some candidates running for mayor, for council. We had a very low showing of
terrible.
voters that even cared about this stuff, but yet there seems to be a lot more complaining about it.
Right.
What do we need to do? Both sides, the
Right.
donkeys and the elephants, as I say,
No, exactly.
had very close elections. What does that signify?
Well-
And what do we got to do? And how is this new group supposed to take off with the guidances that you've kind of established here? This is what the council does. This is what the mayor does. This is what his staff should do.
Well, what I would hope is that at least at election time, that people would actually vote their conscience and try to really discern what's best for the city. We all favor people that we like, we kind of push away people we don't like and all that, and that's fair. But let's face it, when it comes to the mayor for next year, we're voting on it this year. You only have two choices. So if you walk into that voting booth without being fully confident that the vote that you're casting is for the benefit of the city of Niagara Falls, you know, and not for some other reason, you know, your buddy from high school, your next door neighbor, you know, the guy that you golf with, you know, if it's truly for the city of Niagara Falls, I mean, that's what you should bring to the voting booth. Is, okay, I feel good about my vote because this person can help the city of Niagara Falls. And actually go in your own mind and say, how? We're in big financial problems. Okay, how is it going to get fixed? What needs to be done? Does the person have the stomach to do it? Does they have the backbone to do it? Because let me tell you, to fix what the problems that we have right now, who's ever in office is going to have to take a lot of abuse, verbal abuse, because the answers to the problems are not pleasant. Okay, the answers to the problem are not pleasant because there's only one way to fix the financial problem, and that's to increase revenue. We can talk about increased sales tax. We can talk about getting help from the state. We can talk about renegotiating the compact and all of that, and the casino revenue. None of that is going to happen. We're such minor players in all of that, that this notion that we're going to walk into the Senecas and say, hey, we want a bigger cut, or we're going to go tell the governor, hey, we want a bigger cut, that is so remote. It's unbelievable. What's really happening in the background, and nobody's talking about it, is that we have a lot of partners with that casino money. My fear is we're not going to get more money. What we're going to get is more partners. More partners, because we have a heck of a lot of people right now getting paid to lobby the state legislature to change 99H to where the portion to the city of Niagara Falls is 25%. But then state law, 99H, includes a number of partners. The airport, you know, school district, the hospital, the Underground Railroad, you know, NTCC. There are other people saying, you know, we should have a piece of that. So they don't come to the mayor and say we should have a piece of that. They don't go to the council and say we should have a piece of that. It'd be nice if the mayor and the council kept their mouths shut when they were asking the state to do it. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what these lobbyists are looking for. They're looking for people who are going to go into government, who aren't going to say a word when these new partners show up in 2016 and say, hey, we want our share, we want our piece. Okay? So that's my fear. My fear is that the four casinos, they're going to be put up east of Route 34 by the state of, you know, sanctioned by the state of New York. Plus the fact that the racinos are doing very well, taking customers in. We're going to reach a point to where the revenues, the 25% isn't going to get any bigger. It's always going to be 25%, but it's going to be a 25% of a smaller and smaller purse that the casino is going to be able to generate here in downtown Niagara Falls. Mm-hmm. Because in downtown Buffalo, what are they doing? They're spending money in their casino. They're making it bigger, nicer. They're looking for the bigger spenders to be over there. Mm-hmm. So what you're going to continue to see over here is the pensioners and the locals. Well, I think most businesses would tell you that part of the problem that we have here is that the disposable income in this area is very, very low. Mm-hmm. So if it's low now, it's going to be low 5 years from now, because I don't see any, you know, sure, tourism, you know, tourism is going to be the industry here, but not for people my age. Right. Not even for people your age, for that matter. You know what I'm saying?
Really young guys.
I'm talking about really young guys, really? You know? So,
well, but the disposable income that's involved with that is unfortunately being disposed of in the casino.
In the casino, right? We don't get, you know, we get 25% of what the state gets. Okay, how's that going to change if it's the same retirees going there, the same people going there, you know? But I'm looking for good things to happen for the city of Niagara Falls. That's why I'm still here.
Cool. Well, let's stay on top of it here. You know what? I have a picture of you and Hillary Clinton.
Really?
When we built the Heart Center.
Yeah.
And she came to town with $1 million or whatever, or not her own money, I don't think.
Right.
And my wife made the jewelry. She made bracelets.
Right, I
and started
remember
with the
her
heart.
doing that, yeah.
They were the first ones. So
Right.
I got a picture of her putting it on Hillary, and you're in the background,
Yeah.
kind of like this.
Yeah.
And my father-in-law. So there, I got my 4 favorite people. in the
Okay,
world,
that's the way. That's the way.
Hillary,
to finish
Sally,
it.
Vince, and Harry. We're
I
all
have a few
together.
pictures of
So
that.
I'll have to give
Yeah, give me a copy
you a
of that.
picture of you and
Yeah.
Hillary. So
Yeah, that'd be good.
Anyway, so on that, what can Hillary do for us here? And I don't know.
The thing is, right now, we're not even showing the state of New York as a city. Right now, we're not even showing the state of New York that we can do it for ourselves.
No.
You know, I mean, think about it. When you have a low voter turnout like we've had, do you think state government cares about what we're doing? Well, they're spending all their money in Buffalo. You know why? Because state government understands that Western New York, Buffalo is Western New York.
Yeah.
They don't count dollars, they count votes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so we have a smaller population, and the population that we have doesn't vote. You know, and the ones that do don't seem to be making the right decisions because look what's happened.
We're on our
You know,
own.
look what's happened. So anyway,
All right.
but we're hoping for the best.
Stay in touch.
Okay.
Thanks. That
All
was
right.
a good lesson.